good evening, and thank you for joining us once again here at CAN TV, Channel 21. This is the Inglewood Enterprise Gallery's Show Some Love show. Thank you for joining us. Our show is all about showing love and appreciation for the positive things in our community, the great things that we are doing to uplift our community, and to present a positive narrative amid all of the confusion and chaos that we see every time we turn on regular TV. So big thanks to CAN TV for providing this platform for community organizations like us, the Inglewood Enterprise Gallery, as well as other community affiliates to come in and let our voices be heard. I'm your host, Brother Medina, and thank you for joining us on your Wednesday evening. You could have been doing something else, but you decided to tune in here. So it should be a pretty exciting show today. I'm going to tell y'all to fasten your seatbelts. You know, it may be a little too deep for some of y'all to keep up and follow, but we like to get off into some interesting topics here. On our show, we like to talk about the different levels of art and creativity and how they can benefit us in our community, as well as how we come up with creative ways with dealing with some of the problems in our community with creative solutions. Once again, we are the Inglewood Enterprise Gallery, located at our new location on 35th and Racine, inside of the Bridgeport Artist Lofts. You can also check out our Instagram page at Inglewood Enterprise Gallery, website inglewoodenterprisegallery.com, and I'm your host, Brother Medina. You can check out my Instagram page at Madina the Artist. So we have a very interesting show today. We don't have any guests, but today's show is going to be kind of like show and tell. So I will get the opportunity to tell you about some of the latest things that I've been involved with in my art craft and in my creative form. And I get a chance to share that with you and tell you more about crystals. So I don't know how many people out there are familiar with crystals, but crystals are naturally occurring minerals. Diamond, I wouldn't say diamond is a crystal, but diamond is also a naturally occurring mineral. But crystals, sometimes they may look like natural forms of glass. They may come in different colors, like this one right here. This is actually rose quartz. This one right here, this one is malachite. Matter of fact, let me just zoom in for you right here, let you check that out, malachite. But before we get to that, I'm going to tell you all about these crystals. But I got a little trick that I wanted to share with you. I haven't done this trick in a while, but one thing that I like to promote is how all throughout time, man has used art and creativity as a method of teaching and educating people and uplifting their understanding of different things using art and creativity. And creativity is the seed of innovation and technology. So with that said, there is a little trick that I like to do that is inspired by some of the creativity and the science that came out of ancient Egypt, also known as Kemet. Kemet or KMT, the original name of Egypt, and Kemet, the actual meaning of Kemet is land of the blacks. So coming out of ancient Kemet, you have a lot of signs and symbols that we are familiar with, and they might be nice, iconic images, but you never really can grasp the magnitude of how these simple symbols were used to teach ancient education and information and mysticism and things like that. So I got a little trick that I like to do right here, because one of the things that they used to use to teach more about the brain and the understanding of how the brain works and how the brain and the nervous system processes information is they used to use a picture. So I'm going to pull up a picture of this brain right here, and I'm going to start drawing this picture. And as you begin to see the picture, you can tell me if you've seen this picture before. And the picture that when you see it is directly connected to the brain. So this is the brain. It might be hopefully you can see it kind of clear. If not, this is the brain. You got the medulla oblongata, the hypothalamus, and a lot of other technical stuff that it would take a brain surgeon or a science teacher to tell you about. But I'm going to start right here at this point, because if you can see, this point is almost like an eyeball right up here in the brain. So I'm going to just draw a dot. I wish I had a black marker so you could see it a lot better. But I'm going to start right here with a dot right there in what looks like might be the center of our brain. All right. Then this little area right here, I'm going to draw a line. I'm going to follow this curvature of this part of the brain right there. I'm going to follow that. And then since this dot almost looks like an eye, I'm going to come here and complete this eye right there inside of this brain. So I got an eyeball, I got an eyebrow, okay? Then what I'm going to do, this part right here, I'm going to do this and bring that down like that, like I've seen it done. And any of you that are familiar with Egyptian symbols, you may kind of see a familiar symbol forming here. And then back around this area where it's kind of rounded, I'm going to put a little round part and kind of bring that down. I think that's back there somewhere by the medulla oblongata or something like that. So I'm gonna take this this black pen and kind of outline that. So if you can't see it too good, maybe you can get a better look at it. And as we look at the brain and we put this other image over it, you're kind of able to see a familiar symbol, which is known as, some people call it the Eye of Horus, the Eye of Ra, the Eye of this, Uachat, the third eye. It's got a lot of different names, and that's the way symbols are, is that symbols mean a lot of things to a lot of different people. But one important thing about this particular symbol, it's directly related to our perception and how our brain receives information. One part of this eye represents the nose and the sense of smell. One part represents the eye. One part represents the sense of touch, hearing, sound, and so on and so forth, which is what they taught us in grammar school about our five senses, if I'm not mistaken. The five senses: taste, touch, smell, let me get my cheat sheet, sight, and thought. Thought itself is a sense. And then some people say that this eye symbolizes a higher level of understanding or a level of sight that you don't use your regular physical eyes to see. So I'm just saying all of that to say, just imagine how we learn these senses in grammar school, and just think how children in ancient Egypt or ancient Kemet may have learned their senses by using symbols like this. And then we come along thousands of years later, still trying to understand and decipher what their educational system was all about. So that's my little exercise for today. I've been waiting all season to do that, but it's been pretty busy up here with guests and whatnot. The season is almost over. We have a few more episodes left. But before we wrap up, one episode that I've been waiting on to get to is this one, where we get an opportunity to talk all about crystals. Okay? So over the last couple of years, I've been putting a lot of my creative work into crystals. I've been really inspired by working with crystals. And before I actually pull the crystals out, I'm going to let you see a little video of kind of like what I've been up to in the lab. And also, this is a live show, so 312-738-1060. Feel free to call in if you want to talk about crystals, or if you got some questions, comments, or some criticisms. If you got a critique, you can throw that out there too. It's free speech. So check this out and let me know what you think. All right, all right. So that particular piece right there, all right, I patterned after a particular stone called amethyst. And actually, this is some amethyst right here, if you can see it. Amethyst, as is also seen here, is one of the most popular crystals that are out there. You may see a lot of people wearing amethyst charms and different things like that, or clear quartz crystal, like actually this piece right here. So this is clear quartz that was wire wrapped in copper, and I was inspired by the crystals. And after I after I got inspired by them, I wanted to get some more research and really understand what they were all about, because a lot of people talk about them and all of these different qualities that they have. We'd actually be amazed at how much crystals are in our daily part of life. Some people are old enough to have heard of a quartz watch. Quartz is the best material that they have used for watches to keep an accurate time for long periods of time, just by being wound up, and to continue to keep an accurate time 365 days out the year. Also, if you have a computer, which most people do in this day and age, even if you're talking about a calculator or even a phone is a supercomputer as well, then there are probably a number of different types of crystals that are found in the phone, and the crystals are really what makes the phone as powerful, what makes the phone do what it does. So there are a lot of real scientific things that all sorts of crystals do and purposes that they serve for us. But then there are a whole nother host of uses that people feel that crystals are good for. So before I go any further, I do have another brief video. I think a picture is worth 1,000 words, so I like to give you a visual of what it is that we're talking about. So actually, this is a trip to the crystal mine. So this is a trip where I actually got this piece of quartz crystal from, and you'll get an opportunity to see where crystals come from and how much work is involved in getting some of them out. So check it out and give us a call if you got a question. So this is what the crystals look like when they're coming out of the ground. They're covered in red dirt, red clay. Usually people are digging them out by hand. And then you clean them off to see what you got. That's milky quartz, kind of quartz you don't see all the way through it. But then every now and again you may come across some clear quartz, or a few good ones. And these are all the different types of crystals that come out of the ground. Amethyst, you got rose quartz, different types of malachite. So, crystals. Like I said, some of the earliest radios, shortwave radios, that some of them are still around, that will communicate long distances around the earth, were powered by quartz. Also, even X-ray machines, okay? So what people believe to be true about crystals, and personally, I can't say I've experienced it myself. Some crystals may help bring you heightened telepathy, as some people say. Telepathy, what is telepathy? The ability to communicate with somebody else, without words, just using thoughts. Have you ever called somebody and they said, "Man, I was just about to call you on the phone. Get out my head." Or have you ever been sitting up and your ears start burning and they say somebody must be talking about you? Now, I won't say that that's telepathy per se, but these are just ways that human beings connect, that you really can't perceive or don't even understand. But some people possess the power of being able to communicate, and then some people say that this power is potentially amplified by certain natural minerals and specimens that we may have around us. Hence the crystals. Here go a couple more crystals right here. So this one is malachite, and this is also malachite. Malachite, if I'm not mistaken, is it actually comes out of mountains and is formed like stalactites and stalagmites. If you ever heard of stalactites and stalagmites, these are minerals that form from moisture and calcification of minerals and hardening of minerals that produce something almost like a rock. But the qualities of malachite, some people say, are protection as well as prosperity. Now just to reflect a little bit on protection and prosperity, right now we're in the information age, and the information age is powered by technology. Now, if all technology requires crystals in order for it to be powered in these supercomputers, then really it's the crystals that are powering the information age. Back a long time ago, we had the Iron Age. Iron is another element that comes out of the ground, and that was the dominant time and the dominant technology of the land. Then there was another time when you had the Copper and the Bronze Age, and at that time, copper and bronze was the dominant technology of the land. So the qualities of malachite and protection, what people don't know is that malachite, if you crush it down to dust and you heat it up, malachite will actually turn into copper. And back during the Copper and the Bronze Age, when mankind learned how to develop metals, then that's how he was able to produce not only swords, knives, and blades to advance his technology and his warfare, but he was also able to create different types of armor. And even today, when you have people that are able to develop weapons and or armor, they will always be paid in the age that we live in. And the truth was the same for that age. So malachite is copper ore, and also produces copper, its protection, and its prosperity. Rose quartz, another well-known crystal. Some people may have seen rose quartz before. This is one of the most popular crystals out there. A lot of people like rose quartz because they feel that it is good for attracting positive energy and loving energy. It's pink, Pink is a nice, soft, loving color. Red is loving, but pink is more loving. And pink is a nice, radiating, loving color and energy. So a lot of people like to have one of these crystals around if they want to continue to attract positive energy and positive people and positive relationships to themselves. So that's just a little bit of information about the crystals. And the only reason I'm talking about that is because, number one, crystals is another art. It's what would be considered a healing art. There are a lot of healing art practitioners, people involved in Reiki, people involved in different types of aromatherapy. That don't necessarily involve crystals, but it goes back to the senses that we talked about and sensory perception. You have sound therapy, which we spoke about on the show before. We have light therapy, different color therapy, aromatherapy. So you have a lot of different levels of therapy per se. And why is that important? Because we're always talking about the different levels of trauma that we suffer in our community, the different levels of trauma that our young people suffer in our community. But we don't want to just harp on all of the problems. We also like to talk about different potential solutions. So are crystals a potential solution to our problem? I don't know. I don't have all the answers. I just know how they play a part in my life and the life of others that I know, the positivity that people feel they bring, and the different ways that people use the crystals to maybe meditate or get centered, get their mind right, and things like that. So at a time like now, when nobody has the answers, any potential answers beat no answers at all. One more time, just to remind you, if any of y'all are just tuning in, I'm Brother Medina, and this is the Inglewood Enterprise Gallery, located at our new location at 35th and Racine. Also, you can check out our website at InglewoodEnterpriseGallery.com. That's InglewoodEnterpriseGallery.com. Also, like I say, for those of y'all that are just checking in, if you haven't seen our show before or you are not familiar with what it is that we do as the Inglewood Enterprise Gallery, we are a creative co-working space. We also facilitate an art studio. We engage in youth mentorship and summer programs around the areas of creativity as well as entrepreneurship and skill building and workforce development. We feel that it is important to work on uplifting humanity using arts and creativity. So that's what we try to do with a lot of the work that we engage in the community, like some of this right here, our Kid Biz Entrepreneurship Camp, other projects that we engage in. This is our website. So if you happen to peruse through our website, you can see some of the awesome stuff we're doing. Matter of fact, I'm going to press play right here because I really enjoy this particular piece. This is one of our youth business network sessions that we did a couple years ago, where we were teaching our young people different business and trade concepts like import, export, small business development, what is capitalism, what is supply, what is demand, and all of these other important things that our young people need to be familiar with. Yeah, so that's just a little bit of what we're involved in. We actually called out when give them the business. Wrong slide. Give them the business. I kind of like that term, because we gave them the business. We enlightened them with some concepts that they weren't familiar with, to put them more in line with not just being an employee, but what does it take to be an employer? What are some of the factors of being an employer? And what are some important things that you need to know as a potential boss? Maneuvering out here in the world. So Inglewood Enterprise Gallery, Show Some Love show. That is, that's a lot of what we involved in. We also do some STEM and STEAM work, working with some of our community partners, Urban Tech Academy, among several others. And actually, before we go, here's one more video. I actually like this one. I'm going to play it right quick for you. Let me take it back to the beginning because it's kind of fast. But we also even do stuff like sewing programs, sewing classes, things of that nature. Kay's Fashion Lab. We show them how to make purses, all of that other type of stuff. So, another important factor is not just being creative, but how do we take our creativity and incorporate that into a business format to create a sustainable lifestyle. One thing that I've found in my journeys is that young people or people who grow up to be entrepreneurs they had somebody in their family who exposed them to entrepreneurship. They had somebody around them in their environment who was an entrepreneur, and they got the opportunity to see a person actually run a business versus people be consumers all of their lives. So that's another reason why we place importance on not just dealing with the creativity and how do we unlock our creativity and paint and all of this other stuff, but how do we get down to the real business of understanding economics, how money works, how savings and bank accounts work, and how these things play a part in our life, and how not understanding how they work could make or break us in the long run, which is why we wind up with broken communities, you know, because people really don't fully understand the relationship that we should be having with money. So, you know, we try to start with the youth and impart as much constructive, productive information that we can on them or with them, to them, related to economic development, entrepreneurship, and the steps that you can take to become economically or financially self-sufficient. But enough about that. Today's show was all about crystals. And you have quartz crystal, that's one of them we talked about. Amethyst, we talked about amethyst as well. And rose quartz, as well as malachite. As a matter of fact, I will pull up, I'm going to pull up this shot right here just to see a little bit more of the different types of crystals that are out there. Lapis lazuli, rose quartz, black obsidian, carnelian, you got jade. Jade is another popular one. Blue topaz, citrine. So if any of you like know your birthstone and things of that nature, usually your birthstone is some form of a gemstone or some form of a gem. But enough about that. It's been a jam-packed show. The phones lines must have been busy because ain't no calls come through. But there's probably some technical difficulties or something, like always. I appreciate y'all joining us. Also, before we get off the line, feel free to give us a call at 773-719-9848. It's not on the screen, but enterprisegallery@gmail.com is on the screen. Inglewood Enterprise Gallery, that's us. And feel free to check us out on Instagram, Inglewood Enterprise Gallery on Instagram, and Madina the Artist on Instagram to learn more about some of this awesome crystal artwork that we have going on, as well as any art classes that we may have coming up for you and the children. We do have some fun family stuff that we do from time to time. So stay in tune. And before we get out of here, I'm going to leave us with another video. If you came in late, then you didn't get it, but I'm going to play this video on the outro. Thank you for joining us, and have an awesome evening. Peace and blessings.